Most people are busy talking about their dreams and counting what they hope to achieve. But the truth is, dreams without action are illusions. Here's the paradox. The more you reveal your struggle, the less the world respects it. The more you work in silence, the louder your success will speak. Fortune rewards those who sweat where no one is watching, who build when the stage is empty, who grind while the world is distracted. When I began my journey, I had nothing, no savings, no influential connections, and barely a clue of what lay ahead. And yet, what I did have was a notebook, a pen, and a determination to improve just a little every single day. Every morning, I would dedicate time to learning something new, thinking about my goals, and taking small, meaningful actions. No one applauded me. No one noticed. It was all invisible. And that invisibility was my ally because it freed me from the temptation to impress others and allowed me to focus purely on growth. Each day, I would stretch my knowledge, sharpen my discipline, and invest time in my skills. Little by little, my actions compounded. 1 week of diligent effort built a foundation for the next. 1 month of consistency became a stepping stone for the next, and eventually, years later, those incremental actions created opportunities, wealth, and respect I had only dreamed about. You see, patience is not passive. Patience is active. It's about committing to a routine, staying disciplined, and improving yourself even when results aren't immediately visible. Ruthless discipline means doing what must be done, regardless of your feelings, regardless of temptation, regardless of distractions. It's showing up consistently, even when no one else sees it, even when the world offers easier, faster, more alluring shortcuts. The temptation to quit or take shortcuts is always there. But the person who exercises self-control, who sticks to their plan, and who focuses on steady improvement is the one who eventually walks out of the forest of mediocrity into the open plains of extraordinary results. Talent may grab attention, but consistency is what wins the game. I have met brilliant people, gifted with intelligence or natural skill, who failed to translate their talent into wealth. Why? Because brilliance without action fades. A daily habit repeated, a commitment to improvement, a refusal to succumb to distraction, these are the forces that compound quietly, invisibly, into real results. The work you do day in and day out, repeated without fanfare, is far more powerful than any single stroke of genius. So if you feel impatient, remember this: the river carves the canyon not in a day, but over centuries. The oak grows from a seed, unnoticed for years, before it towers over the landscape. Your wealth, your success, your mastery, they are forged the same way. Patiently, steadily, relentlessly, one disciplined step at a time. And that, my friends, is how ordinary days quietly produce extraordinary lives. Let me share something fundamental that most people overlook, yet it's the single most powerful tool I have ever used in building not just wealth, but a life of purpose. I'm talking about the act of setting clear, written goals, privately, intentionally, and with precision. You see, your mind is a fertile field, but left to wander without guidance, it grows weeds of distraction, doubt, and indecision. Writing your goals is planting seeds in that field, giving them structure, nourishment, and direction. It is in the quiet act of putting pen to paper that your intentions begin to take shape, that abstract desires crystallize into tangible, actionable steps. I remember the early days of my journey. I had big ambitions, but they floated in my mind like clouds on a windy day. Beautiful, inspiring, but shapeless and fleeting. Then one evening, with nothing but a notebook and a pen, I began to write. I wrote down exactly what I wanted to achieve financially, the skills I wanted to master, the habits I needed to cultivate, and the lifestyle I envisioned. I even assigned dates and benchmarks, turning vague hopes into precise objectives. That simple exercise transformed my mental energy into focused, deliberate action. It was private, unobserved by anyone, and that privacy was critical. Without the pressure of outside scrutiny, I could dream without judgment and plan without distraction. My written goals became a blueprint, a map I could follow in silence, while the world carried on unaware of the quiet construction of my future. There's a psychological magic in writing your goals. When you articulate the exact numbers, deadlines, and steps, your subconscious begins to align with them. Every decision, every choice becomes guided by this internal compass. Opportunities that would have otherwise gone unnoticed become visible. Obstacles that seem insurmountable when floating in your mind shrink when addressed in the clarity of writing. The brain loves specificity, and when you commit to something in black and white, you activate a natural mechanism to achieve it. But writing alone is not enough. This practice must be daily. Each morning or evening, revisit your goals, refine them, check your progress, and adjust your plan as needed. This is not vanity. This is strategy. While others drift aimlessly, waiting for circumstances to shape their lives, you will be steering deliberately, silently, steadily toward the wealth and success you have defined. I've seen people fail not because they lacked talent or ambition, but because they lacked clarity. Their energy was scattered, their decisions reactive. Meanwhile, those who take the time to write their goals privately, those who define their numbers, their timelines, and their exact actions become unstoppable. Their lives unfold according to design, not accident. Every dollar saved, every skill mastered, every relationship nurtured is aligned with their private, written vision. So today, I challenge you, take pen and paper, step away from the noise, and write down exactly what you want. Be specific, be precise, and be silent about it. Let your clarity be your secret weapon, and watch as the world is shocked, not by your words, but by your results. Let me tell you something, few people ever take seriously, yet it is one of the quietest and most powerful tools in building real wealth. Tracking every single dollar. Most people think money management is about earning more or investing in the next big opportunity. But the truth is, if you don't know where every dollar's coming from or where it's going, you are flying blind. Wealth doesn't appear by chance. It is cultivated meticulously in the quiet corners of our daily financial choices. When I first started, I had very little. Every dollar mattered. I learned early that the act of watching my money was not about obsession, it was about empowerment. By maintaining a personal ledger, a simple notebook, or even a spreadsheet, I began to see patterns that had previously gone unnoticed. Little leaks, small unwise purchases, and even the timing of income and expenses suddenly became visible. Tracking your finances is a discipline. It trains your mind to make decisions intentionally rather than reactively. I remember my early days when I was managing tight budgets and struggling to pay bills on time. I began logging everything, every earned dollar, every expense, every investment, every debt repayment. At first it was tedious, but over time it became a ritual, a conversation I had silently with myself about my priorities. With each entry, I learned self-control. I realized that if money was to serve me, I had to understand it, respect it, and direct it. Those who ignore their money are enslaved by it. Those who track it quietly are masters of it. The psychological effect of this practice cannot be overstated. You begin to anticipate expenses, plan investments, and recognize opportunities before they arrive. You start seeing money not as a fleeting resource, but as a tool that can be multiplied. I remember noticing a small recurring expense I had dismissed for months. By tracking it, I redirected that money into an investment that grew quietly in the background. Small actions like this, repeated consistently, compound into extraordinary results over time. This is not about flaunting numbers or showing off your balance. The power lies in private awareness. It's a silent conversation with your future self. Each month, as you review your ledger, you see the results of discipline, the consequences of carelessness, and the direction your wealth is moving. You gain foresight and control, two qualities far more valuable than luck or talent. So here's the principle. Treat every dollar as a soldier in your army. Track it, know it, command it. Let your financial life be organized in private, while the world remains unaware of the disciplined forces you are quietly amassing. Control your money, and in turn, your money will amplify your freedom and your success. Now, let me share a truth that many people overlook. Money is either your servant or your master. If you allow it to control you, it will dictate your life, your choices, and your freedom. But if you learn to command it wisely, every dollar becomes a soldier in your financial army, working silently on your behalf. Early in my life, I discovered this principle the hard way. I had moments of earning, moments of scarcity, and moments of poor decisions where a single impulsive purchase would set me back days or even weeks. That taught me an invaluable lesson. Financial control is not optional, it is foundational. Mastering financial control starts with the basics. Budgeting is the first battlefield. You must know precisely where your money is going, where it should go, and where it could grow. I remember creating my first simple budget on a scrap of paper. It wasn't glamorous, but it forced me to confront reality. I began separating what was necessary, what was discretionary, and what could be invested. This exercise, done consistently, brings clarity and removes anxiety. Money is no longer a mysterious force. It becomes a tool in your hands. Next comes saving. Wealth isn't built on the whims of luck or windfalls. It is built on consistent allocation. Even a small percentage set aside daily or weekly compounds into significant sums over time. I recall a period when I was barely making ends meet, yet I committed to saving a small portion of every paycheck. At first, it seemed negligible, almost symbolic. But that small discipline built habits, reinforced patience, and created a foundation that later enabled larger investments without fear or risk. Investing wisely is the final step in commanding your financial army. Don't merely accumulate. Make your money active. Stocks, bonds, real estate, or businesses. Find avenues where your money works while you sleep. Every dollar held idle is a soldier standing without a mission. Put them to work strategically, and over years, you'll find they multiply quietly, invisibly, but powerfully. I remember reinvesting small returns from early investments. And over time, what began as modest sums grew into substantial financial engines that required minimal day-to-day attention. Equally important is avoiding debt traps and impulsive spending. Every unnecessary expense is a chain. Every credit card swipe without plan is a surrender. The key is patience and foresight. I learned to ask myself before every expenditure, is this taking me closer to my goals or farther from them? This simple question, repeated consistently, builds discipline and strengthens control. Financial mastery is not flashy. It is quiet, steady, and deliberate. It is budgeting when no one is watching, saving when the temptation is strong, investing when fear tempts hesitation, and resisting impulses that promise short-term satisfaction but long-term limitation. Treat your money as a loyal soldier, and in return, it will defend, expand, and secure your freedom. The power of control is not in earning more, but in commanding what you already have. The path to extraordinary success is quiet, unseen, and often lonely. While the world sleeps, while the majority are distracted by entertainment, scrolling through messages, or simply drifting through life, the seeds of wealth are being planted by those willing to work in the silence. I learned early on that effort doesn't just come from showing up. It comes from showing up when others are absent, from putting in the hours nobody notices, and from focusing relentlessly when the noise of life tempts you to pause. There were days in my early career when I would rise before dawn, long before the city woke, and spend those precious hours reading, planning, and working on ideas that no one else cared about yet. It was quiet work, often unnoticed, but it compounded over time into skill, insight, and momentum. While others were chasing quick gratification, I was building foundations, mental, financial, and emotional, that would carry me through storms and opportunities alike. There's a lesson here that cannot be overstated. Extraordinary success rarely aligns with ordinary schedules. Working while others sleep is not only about time, it's about focus. In those hours, distractions vanish, phones are silent, obligations are minimal, and clarity rises. I remember sitting at a small desk, the house dark around me, and writing out plans for the week, visualizing business ideas, and mapping personal goals. The mind works differently in quiet moments. It sharpens, strategizes, and produces solutions that chaos often buries. This is how the compounding effect of discipline begins. Consistent effort during moments others undervalue transforms small beginnings into monumental outcomes. But it's not just the early mornings. Sometimes it's late nights after others have given up or called it quits. It's those hours of persistence, of taking action when tiredness tempts surrender, that create a habit of excellence. I remember nights when the world was quiet and I was still at my desk, analyzing accounts, drafting letters, or studying books that would eventually guide my decisions. Those moments were invisible to the outside world, yet they were decisive in shaping my trajectory. Effort alone is not enough. It must be purposeful. Working while others sleep is powerful because it aligns time with intention. Every hour spent learning, planning, or creating when no one else is watching strengthens your advantage. It compounds into skill, confidence, and financial momentum. I can tell you from experience, those hours are never wasted. They form the backbone of wealth and success, invisible to observers, yet undeniable in results. So if you truly want to shock the world with your success, start by mastering the hours others neglect. Rise earlier, focus harder, and act with discipline when distractions are absent. In the silence of those hours, your dreams find space to grow, and your wealth quietly multiplies. The extraordinary is born in the ordinary hours nobody honors. Work while others sleep, and the world will one day notice the results. Let me share something crucial about the path to real wealth. If you spend your life trading hours for dollars, you will always be limited by time. Time is finite, but money, when guided wisely, can grow endlessly. I learned this lesson the hard way early in my career, working tirelessly for every paycheck, thinking that effort alone would secure my future. And it did, in the sense that it taught me the value of hard work. but it also taught me its limitation. There comes a point when you must shift from being a wage earner to being a creator of systems, assets, and streams of income that work independently of your presence. Passive income is not a mysterious concept reserved for the elite. It's the natural result of strategic thinking, disciplined planning, and consistent action. I remember investing small amounts early, buying modest properties, starting side businesses, and learning the power of royalties from intellectual property. Each of these streams required effort up front, research, planning, and execution. But once established, they continued to generate returns even when I was not actively working. That's the power of assets. They liberate your time, amplify your impact, and allow you to grow wealth beyond the limits of your labor. The beauty of building assets is that they make your money work for you. Every dollar invested wisely becomes a soldier in your financial army, generating growth, multiplying opportunities, and protecting you from the volatility of relying solely on earned income. I learned that there is an exponential difference between income tied to hours worked and income tied to systems or assets. One requires constant presence. The other grows silently, steadily, and relentlessly. Start small, but think strategically. Whether it's investing in real estate, stocks, or starting a small business, the principle remains the same. Focus on building something that will generate returns even when you are not actively present. I often tell people that the first step is mindset. You must think like the owner, not the employee. Your vision must be long-term, your patience steadfast, and your discipline unwavering. Every choice you make regarding money should be evaluated not only for immediate reward, but for its potential to create future independence. Remember, the richest people are not those who work the longest hours. They are those who structure their work and investments so that their assets generate wealth on their own. I have seen individuals transform their lives simply by creating one passive stream, then reinvesting its returns to create a second, then a third. Over time, these small, deliberate actions compound into extraordinary financial freedom. So do not be content with trading your time for money indefinitely. Build assets, nurture streams of income that flow without constant effort, and let your wealth multiply quietly while you focus on your bigger purpose. When you understand the art of making money work for you, you step off the treadmill of constant labor and enter a life where your resources and your time are finally in harmony. True freedom and true wealth begin here. Let me tell you a truth that most people never fully grasp. Not all work is created equal. You can be busy all day, running from meeting to meeting, sending emails, attending calls, and yet, at the end of the day, find yourself no closer to the life you truly desire. That's because effort without direction, no matter how intense, rarely produces extraordinary results. True wealth comes not from doing more, but from doing what matters most. High leverage activities that generate the greatest return on your time, energy, and focus. In the early days of my own journey, I made the mistake of trying to do everything. I would help everyone, say yes to every opportunity, and convince myself that constant motion meant progress. I was exhausted, yet my bank account didn't reflect the hours I poured in. Then I began observing those who achieved significant financial success. What struck me was not that they worked harder, they worked smarter. They identified the tasks that had the greatest impact on their results and gave those tasks their full attention relentlessly. They ignored the noise, delegated the rest, and kept their energy reserved for actions that truly moved the needle. High leverage activities are different for everyone. For an investor, it might mean analyzing potential investments carefully rather than reacting to every market fluctuation. For a business owner, It could be negotiating a key contract, building strategic partnerships, or creating a product that scales. For anyone, it's about understanding where your effort produces the most significant results and directing your energy there consistently. The challenge, of course, is resisting the temptation to feel productive by doing low-value tasks. Checking emails, attending unnecessary meetings, or scrolling through social media may feel busy, but they rarely create wealth. Discipline is required to focus quietly, deliberately, and persistently on the few things that matter most. I remember sitting in my office one afternoon, overwhelmed by my to-do list, when it struck me. Every item wasn't equally important. I drew a simple line between what would truly grow my business and wealth and what was merely noise. That single exercise changed the trajectory of my work. By concentrating on high-leverage actions, I began to see exponential results. Deals closed faster, money multiplied, and my time became far more valuable than any paycheck could compensate. Wealth is a product of focused, disciplined action, not frantic busyness. Learn to recognize the difference between urgent tasks that scream for attention and important tasks that build lasting success. Quietly prioritize the work that yields the highest return. Make it your ritual, your standard, and your habit. When you do, the results will speak louder than words ever could. Remember, it's not how much you do, it's what you choose to do that defines your financial destiny. Time is the currency that even the wealthiest cannot buy more of, yet most people spend it as if it were endless. I have learned through years of trial and error that how you manage your time directly shapes your financial future. Money will come and go, but time lost can never be reclaimed. Every hour you allow to slip away without intentional use is an opportunity for growth, learning, or investment that you will never get back. Discipline with time is not merely about being busy. It's about being deliberate. It's about deciding in advance how your hours will serve your goals and guarding them fiercely against distractions and interruptions. Early in my life, I faced the chaos that comes when you have ambition but no structure. I would drift from task to task, responding to every demand, every call, every shiny object that appeared. By the end of the day, I was exhausted yet unaccomplished. It was a harsh lesson. Effort alone is meaningless without focus. I realized that if I wanted to grow wealth and success, I had to treat my time like a valuable asset. More valuable, in fact, than money itself. I began blocking specific hours for learning, for reflection, for planning, and for creating. Hours where no one could interrupt me. No phone calls, no messages, no unnecessary meetings. In those hours, I read, I wrote plans, I analyzed opportunities, and I worked on projects that multiplied my income. Discipline with time is a quiet, almost invisible force. Others may scoff when you decline social invitations, ignore distractions, or rise early while they sleep. But it is in these disciplined moments that compounding occurs. Just like financial investments grow exponentially over time, the steady, focused use of your time produces results far beyond what sporadic, unfocused bursts of effort ever could. Small, consistent periods dedicated to high-value work build momentum, expertise, and financial returns that accumulate silently until one day they become unmistakable. I once advised a young entrepreneur who was frustrated that his days felt unproductive despite long hours. I asked him to track every hour for a week. Then we divided the day into blocks: time for learning, time for creation, and time for execution. Within a month, he reported dramatic progress, new clients, increased revenue, and most importantly, a sense of control over his life. The lesson is clear. If you cannot manage your hours, nothing else will manage itself. So I urge you, do not squander your time. protect it, structure it, and invest it in activities that multiply your wealth, your knowledge, and your capability. Discipline with time is the invisible engine behind all great financial achievements. Guard it as fiercely as you guard your money, and you will see your efforts compound into extraordinary results. Time, when disciplined, becomes your greatest ally in building lasting wealth and success. I have always believed that true wealth is not measured by how much you earn, but by how much you retain and grow. One of the quietest yet most powerful habits in building lasting wealth is to minimize lifestyle inflation. Too often, as soon as income rises, people feel entitled to upgrade everything around them. The car, the home, the wardrobe, the gadgets. On the surface, it may seem like a reward for hard work, but in reality, it silently erodes your capacity to build real financial freedom. Every dollar spent beyond necessity is a dollar not working for you, a dollar not invested, a dollar not compounding quietly in your favor. I remember early in my career, when I began to see real increases in income, the temptation to match my lifestyle to my earnings was strong. I wanted the nice suit, the newer car, the convenience of luxury. But a mentor gave me a simple piece of wisdom. Let your wealth grow quietly while the world notices later. I took that advice seriously. I increased my income silently through additional work, investments, and creating new streams, but my lifestyle remained disciplined and modest. The results were remarkable. Over time, my wealth began to compound without being eaten away by excessive spending. That quiet restraint became a cornerstone of my financial growth. Minimizing lifestyle inflation is not about deprivation. It's about strategic patience. Every time your income rises, ask yourself, do I need this, or can this money be put to work? When approached this way, each raise or bonus is not a ticket to fleeting gratification. It is a building block for long-term independence. Wealth does not happen overnight, and flashy spending is the quickest way to mask progress without actually creating it. The most successful people I've met often live below their means, even when they could afford much more, because they understand the silent power of compounding. This principle applies to every area of financial life. Housing, transportation, dining, travel, and entertainment can all be scaled modestly, leaving more capital to invest in assets, education, and opportunities that generate returns beyond your labor. Wealth grows quietly when the focus is on accumulation, not consumption. By consciously keeping lifestyle inflation in check, you give your money the freedom to work for you rather than you working to support fleeting habits. So, as your income rises, resist the urge to inflate your lifestyle. Let your wealth grow quietly, steadily, and strategically. The discipline to live below your means while increasing your capacity to earn is the silent engine behind every lasting fortune. The world may not notice your restraint now, but one day, your success will speak for itself. Wealth grows fastest when patience and discipline guide every financial choice you make. Every evening, before the distractions of life pull you away, take a moment to pause and reflect. Spend 10 to 15 minutes quietly reviewing your day. Ask yourself, what went well? What could I have done differently? Where did I waste energy? And where did I create value? This small, silent habit may seem insignificant, but over time it becomes a powerful engine for growth, both in wealth and personal development. I remember in my early days, after long hours of work, chasing deals and learning the ropes, I started this practice almost reluctantly. I would sit with a notebook, pen in hand, and write down what I had accomplished and where I had fallen short. Initially, the gains were subtle, but soon, patterns began to emerge. I noticed which efforts produced real returns and which were distractions. I could see where my time was best invested and where I needed more discipline. This quiet self-assessment transformed my approach. Mistakes became lessons. Small wins became encouragement. And slowly, momentum began to build. Daily reflection is not about regret or criticism. It is about honest observation. It is about turning experience into strategy. When you take time to analyze your actions, you gain clarity about what is truly productive. In wealth building, this practice is invaluable. Every financial decision, every business negotiation, every investment carries lessons. By reflecting daily, you silently refine your judgment, reduce costly errors, and align your actions with your long-term goals. Consider it a form of compounding, but for your mind and character. Just as small, consistent financial choices compound into significant wealth, small daily reflections compound into exceptional insight and decision-making ability. Over weeks and months, the clarity gained from this habit multiplies, allowing you to act with precision, confidence, and foresight.